Good morning again, my friend. Welcome to the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. So you heard me talking, talking a little bit about the issue of life and talking about my family and um, my my grandson. And I wanted to show you a photo of my grandson. For those of you who were listening to the program, this was we were talking about Amendment G, and which is coming up pretty quickly here. We'll be voting on Amendment G, and I was sharing at length the number of people, religious people, and pastors in particular, who are opposing Amendment G and why they're doing it. And I shared a personal story about my own family, um, and I wanted to show you the photo of my grandson. There he is. This was on his second birthday, which was just a few weeks ago. This was just a couple of weeks ago. There he is. Cute little bugger. He's up in North Dakota. So unfortunately, I don't get a chance to see him very often. But I did want to share that photo with you. They've just got an absolutely incredible family. So I wanted to share that. Let's take a look at what's going on this morning. News stories. The FCC, Federal Communications Commission. This is regarding the CBS 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. And so they talked to a commissioner, Nathan Symington, said his priority is to make sure the public was not misled by the CBS interview. And he said this complaint might come before the commission. So CBS in recent days has taken heat for airing two different answers to the same question in their 60 Minutes interview last week with Harris. And there was a lot of concern. She was mocked by many. I would make an argument it was not just conservatives. I mean, seriously, I think anybody who would listen to these answers that she had, they're word salads. I mean, that you don't have to be a conservative to arrive at that conclusion. I mean, I've got to imagine there would be a number of libertarians that would take a listen to that and go, yeah, understand why it's called the word salad. So anyway, CBS swapped answers. It's what CBS did, because there was one answer to a question that was shown on one of the CBS morning news programs, Sunday news program, I think it was Face the Nation, showed one response. And then when the episode actually aired and the interview aired on 60 Minutes, what happened? Different response. So what's going on there? This story is recapping what I just shared with you. I wanted to get to Symington's comments. He said, CBS could land in some hot water, but likely would not be punished, apparently. The commission acts on complaints about distortion, not complaints about editorial positions. And so what this claim is alleging is that an act of distortion took place. And so if you look at the FCC statute, Section 326 says the commission doesn't have the power of censorship over broadcast signals, and the commission, you get up to your neck in this stuff in quite a hurry, because you're talking about commission law or broadcast law, so on. So what would happen? The commission has certainly contemplated the possibility of distortionary reporting taking place via splicing. That's one reason I don't think this complaint is he doesn't think the complaint is ridiculous, and it would not be inappropriate for the commission to take it up. So there's a group that has asked the FCC to take this issue up, as to whether or not they should. I think that's it's a great issue. Um, I appreciate your comments here. Steve said, and I wanted to point that out, Steve. And Steve noticed it. The photo of my grandson. Did you notice the hat? The Batman logos? He comes. Now, this is not my doing. My oldest daughter and her husband are both Batman fans. Now, my daughter, I understand why she's a Batman fan, right? But my son-in-law, and that has nothing to do with me. So that's a household. There's a lot of love for the Batman in that household. Denise, I appreciate your comment. She said, thank you for sharing your daughter's story this morning. I released two children for adoption when I was 17 and 19 into the same family. In turn, I adopted my niece and nephew 15 years ago. Wow. That's absolutely incredible. I appreciate that story. Thanks, Denise. Steve, I love the way you look at things, man. You come up with things that wouldn't occur to me, and I appreciate that. I don't call 60 Minutes a news show. It's more like a late night infomercial. No, it's worse. It's worse. Late night infomercials I could stand. I get stomach. Right, Ron Popeil's on it yet. No. But the product is clearly not analyzed, nor is the product you receive at all close to what was advertised. I kind of agree with that. Absolutely. David, you got a point. I appreciate this. Disinformation and misinformation depends on who is listening. The first protects the expression of opinions. Absolutely right. But oftentimes what we see, misinformation, that's an opinion. Oftentimes, though, what news, as we see it coming from the White House, they are disputing, I'm trying to think back now, Karine Jean-Pierre, and thinking about one of her most recent altercations then with Fox News, and she's just, the question itself is misinformation. How can a question be misinformation? Either it's, he was asking, and I talked about it, and we had showed the video. The White House always claiming that this is misinformation. Sorry, I asked a question. How can you? So the expression of opinion, though, versus fact. There are some facts. I could say the sun is hot. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. So when we start getting into disinformation, misinformation, what we are getting into are folks that oftentimes are presenting things as fact when they're not. The reality is they're not. So expression of opinion, I agree with you. It's totally protected. Expression of opinion. Where we see, especially, I think, the Biden White House just go absolutely sideways is that they don't, they want everything to be convoluted. They don't actually want you to know what the actual truth is. They're not going to answer those questions truthfully. Instead, it's the fault of the reporters, because they're engaging in this misinformation and disinformation. And that's something altogether different, David, than what you're talking about. I think just an expression of opinion. Because I totally understand that. But then be very clear that that's your opinion, right? Versus then presenting things as fact when in reality there's nothing factual about them. We talked about the event, the Al Smith dinner. That was big news this morning. And I did not mention this New York Post has got a story. Comedian Jim Gaffigan, who I love. I love Jim Gaffigan. I think he is incredibly funny. He is also Catholic. You may not know that, but if you're a fan of Gaffigan's, I think you do. He's talked about it. He apparently went after the Democrats. Some called his takedown jokes the murder of an entire political party. So he said, this event has been referred to as the Catholic Met Gala. 22% of Americans identify as Catholics. Catholics will be a key demographic in every battleground state. I'm sorry. Why is President Harris not here? He said. So there were a number of jokes that he told at the dinner. Also, going back to that, there were more comments that Trump made at the dinner last night that I did not mention early this morning. He spoke for about 30 minutes. So, I boiled that down to maybe 10 minutes at most this morning, 10 or 15 minutes over the course of the program this morning, that I shared some of Donald Trump's comments. He said at one point, saying of Kamala Harris, if she does any worse in the polls, they're going to bring Biden back again, I think. Chuck, he's going to do it. Now, Chuck Schumer is sitting right next to Trump. And again, now Newsmax is saying that Schumer was laughing at this. So Trump points to Schumer seated right next to Trump during his speech. And he said, he's the one, he's pointing at Schumer. He's the one that got Biden out. That's the guy. Much more so than crazy Nancy, I will tell you, because I know him. He did it. And that raised an eyebrow from Schumer. And then Trump also said, but many of you are Manhattan liberals from the media and the Democrat Party. I always say the Democrat, Chuck doesn't like that. He likes Democratic. And I've been doing that for years. And I don't know where I drew that from. I think it was Trump. It may have been Trump. The Democrat Party. He likes Democratic Party. And he says it sounds much more beautiful, the Democratic Party. I always say the Democrat Party because it sounds worse, and it's true. He likes Democratic. Why don't they just change the name this way? It is Democrat, Trump said, and that made Schumer laugh. So among the comments at the Al Smith dinner, there are a couple of other stories that I wanted to share here with you this morning. I want to share the front page of the Washington Examiner, just their front page here, because we can quickly take a look at some of the headlines coming from the Examiner right now. For Harris, Trump is the answer. Yawn. This column interested me. The depravity of the contemporary left willfully overlooks. Kamala's Fox interview shows why she would continue Biden's failure. This goes on. Washington Examiner's not being kind to the Democrats this morning. Some other, and I agree with John saying, to the left, misinformation is speech they don't agree with. Totally correct, I think, John. Couple of other stories. This is from. I want to start with this one. Let's get outside of the political vein for a moment. This transplant donor wakes up on the operating table. I mentioned this morning on the program, but I wanted to touch on it again here to make sure that this is just an incredible scenario. This was at a hospital in Kentucky. And the apparently they were getting close to, he's an organ donor and he's on the table and they believe he's dead, right? And so they're getting close to removing his heart. They are taking a look as to whether or not his heart would be suitable for transplant. And this is what they're getting ready for. And the guy starts moving around on the table. This is crazy. So he was taken to the hospital after overdosing on drugs. Doctors declared him brain dead. And then they were conducting tests to see whether his organs were worth harvesting. And excuse me. So he, one of the nurses wheeled him into the room. He seemed very much alive. He was moving around, kind of thrashing, she said. And then when we went over there, you could see he had tears coming down. He was visibly crying, she says. So his condition shocked several people in the operating room. And the nurse says she overheard the case coordinator for Kentucky organ donor affiliates callously request new doctors perform the procedure. So they called for a new supervisor. She was there telling her that she needed to find another doctor to do it because they were going to do this case. She needs to find someone else. The guy's alive, man. The guy is still alive. That's a really chilling kind of story when you think about that. That he's now again, he's an organ donor. He has made that decision. And you kind of hear these stories, and I'm not trying to put anybody off of organ donation, right? I'm not trying to say you shouldn't do it. But I wonder how many people are rethinking their decision to be an organ donor, finding out that this guy's on the table and he's still alive, and the person that's there to collect organs from him is like, no, get another doctor in here. We just want to move ahead. That's a little bit blood-curdling, I think. Wow. That's a little bit cold. By almost any standards, I think that's a little bit cold. Wow. Okay. I think I'm just going to, I do want to share this story briefly. This is a Breitbart news story. New poll, not on who's ahead. Okay. I just want, not on who's leading the presidential race, but on what percent of voters support deportations. 67%. It's a Fox News poll. 67% support among registered voters for the deportation of illegal migrants. Deportation supported by 40% of liberals. Are we talking about Democrats? Again, or maybe these are self-identified liberals. 40%, 62% of Hispanics, 53% of blacks, you see it, 65% of moderates, 86% of conservatives. And this matches recent polls. So are we going to be able to do it? Okay. Record support among registered voters for the deportation of people who are in the country illegally. Record support. Will it ever be done? What do you think? And I'm curious. I would welcome your thoughts. Don't be afraid to. And for those of you who are watching live, I appreciate it because I can see your comments on YouTube and Facebook. And especially for those of you on Facebook, as I'm asking these questions, I would love to. And I know a number of you are watching, not in great numbers. Don't want to be accused of having great numbers of people who are watching. But I appreciate your comments on these things, so don't be afraid to respond. I love seeing that pop up on Facebook. Those of you who are on YouTube are much more interactive. John, for instance, John is watching live on Facebook right now, but I appreciate hearing from all of you. Um, oh, David, we were talking about that, the guy and the donor and what happened to the donor. Monty Python had a skit about live donor cards. The Meaning of Life. I think that's from The Meaning of Life, isn't it? I think it is, which is an incredibly funny movie. Incredibly inappropriate, but that's typical of Monty Python. It's pretty wild. Are you a fan of Yellowstone? I am. It's got to tell you very honestly, very candidly, I'm a fan of Yellowstone. Kevin Costner apparently saying he is open to the idea of returning to Yellowstone. So the ending of Yellowstone leaked online. I've not yet seen it, and I don't plan on going to take a look at it. I want to watch it myself. I've been a fan of this show, I must say. It's incredibly violent. If you don't appreciate violence, I don't think you would appreciate Yellowstone. But it's a rugged show. I really enjoyed it. So Kevin Costner apparently still leaving the door open according to Whiskey Riff. He said, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be up to something. I'm so glad for them that they found their way, talking about Yellowstone. And he said, you stay open. We all know how to shut doors. We all know how to keep them shut. But I think staying open, there's always those things, he said that that you want to, revisit or keep the door open. And he said, that's how I like to live. So he's not shutting the door on Yellowstone. Now, as to whether or not they're going to reach out to him and get him to return to Yellowstone, I have no idea. I suspect they probably would not. But this is a piece at Outkick. At some point, Costner just needs to say whether he's back or not. Is there a surprise appearance or not? Is a reunion happening or not? And I was like, man, fans, we just get so high strung over shows that we appreciate, that we love, And I just think that's it's been a pretty incredible show. It's one that I really enjoyed. It's and it has surprised me at times. It's taken turns. Finding a show that is willing to maybe kill off characters or take dramatic, and Yellowstone has been one of those shows, at least in my opinion. I have enjoyed it, but admittedly, it's not for everybody. All right. Thank you so much for letting me join you today. Would you please hit that like button? Oh, by the way, I shared audio or I shared video with you yesterday that was from, I think, Univision. It was from Mexico. You'll want to know that that presentation now has been banned in Mexico on both Facebook and YouTube. I received notifications. You don't have permission to share that video in Mexico. So that's going to be really disappointing to how many fans does the Greg Belfrage Show have in Mexico? Uh, I don't think any. But Facebook, go into my page and that video's got a warning on it. Oh, this is not available in Mexico. And I thought, would anybody in Mexico care? I don't know that they would. Anyway, I just want to thank you for being here. But hitting that like button makes a big difference. And I just don't understand why so many people refuse to do it. Just refuse to hit the like button. And you tell me, where does that come from? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody who does video shows, and they're begging their viewers, please, please hit the like button. And and some have like, millions of viewers. So imagine for me with a handful of viewers, folks that will watch, and then, I will post it to the website, and some people will pick this up after the fact. I'll pick up additional views on Facebook and YouTube as, folks have time and they come back to it. And then I post it to kello.com, and it will pick up a small number of views through our website at kello.com as well. But why are you so reluctant to hit the like button? Nobody's going to say anything, are you? I know you're sitting here. No comments popping up at all. Nobody's saying anything. Is there some aversion to hitting the like button? That has got to be explained to me, because it just it makes me laugh. Oh, David's watching on Roku. I can't find the like button. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate it. Kathy, God bless you. We're going to hold Kathy up as a model for the rest of you to strive toward. Kathy hits the like button every time she's able to watch. Kathy, thank you so much. And that explains like my 4 likes, Thank you so much for being here. I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. Take care. Have just a great weekend. I will see you again on Monday. So long until then, my friend, and may God bless.